In a remote part of Texas, America, a wealthy rancher named William Carter lived surrounded by thousands of acres of land. He owned one of the largest ranches in the state, and with money, he could have anything he wanted. Yet, despite all this, William often felt a strange emptiness in his life. That morning, he took his expensive Jeep out to survey his ranch after a violent storm had ravaged the area overnight. The storm had been merciless. Power poles had snapped, roads were flooded, and countless homes had been completely destroyed. The sky was still gray, and the air smelled of damp earth and broken wood. William drove slowly, his heart heavy at the devastation. Though he had faced many storms in his life, they had usually only meant financial loss. But today felt different, today it felt personal. As he turned onto an old, uneven road, his eyes fell on a small, run-down farmhouse that had nearly collapsed. Its roof was partially gone, walls were cracked, and broken pieces of wood were scattered all around. Normally, William would have ignored such a sight. But this time, something pulled him closer. There, in front of the ruined house, stood an elderly couple, working tirelessly despite the wreckage around them. The old man, later introduced as John, struggled to lift a heavy plank with trembling hands. His face showed fatigue, but his eyes shone with determination. Beside him, Mary, his wife, collected old nails and broken tools, her small frame carrying more courage than her body seemed capable of holding. They had no help, no money, yet they kept rebuilding, smiling through exhaustion. William parked his Jeep slowly, the engine fading into the eerie silence around them. Only the sound of wood creaking and falling punctuated the quiet. He watched them for several moments, puzzled by their resilience. Why wouldn't they give up? He wondered. For the first time, William realized that storms didn't only come from the skies. Life itself could hurl calamities at a person, tearing everything apart. Yet some people, like John and Mary, refused to be defeated. They stood tall, even when the world seemed to crumble beneath them. And at that moment, a seed was planted in William's mind, a feeling he couldn't yet name. A sense that this encounter, this small couple in the middle of devastation, was about to change the course of his life forever. William stayed in his Jeep for a few moments longer, his gaze fixed on John and Mary, who were tirelessly working despite their weary bodies. Finally, he stepped out and slowly walked toward them. The ground, soaked from the storm, made every step a challenge. But William's heart felt heavier than the mud beneath his feet. As he drew closer, he realized that this couple was not just rebuilding their house, they were safeguarding their dignity and hope. He called out gently, "Good morning." John looked up, startled but not afraid. Mary paused, turning her attention from the scattered wood to the stranger approaching. William's polished clothes and gleaming watch seemed worlds apart from the couple's weathered appearance. "Why are you doing this alone?" William asked softly. "Why haven't you sought help?" John set the plank down and took a deep breath. "Son," he said, his voice calm but firm, "the storm may have taken everything from us, but it hasn't taken our habits. We've spent our lives working hard. We've never leaned on anyone." Mary smiled faintly. "As long as our hands can move, we'll keep trying." Her voice was weak, but her resolve was unshakable. Her words hit William's heart like a lightning strike. He thought about his own life, full of bank accounts, contracts, and business deals. He had never seen life this simply, this purely, before. "How long have you lived here?" he asked. "For 40 years, John replied. "We built this house with our own hands. Our children grew up here, and this is where we grew old." His voice trembled slightly, but no tears fell from his eyes. William stood in silence, absorbing every word. Then, almost without thinking, he said, "I own the nearby ranch." Mary looked puzzled. "Then why are you here?" "I don't know," William admitted honestly. "Perhaps, you stopped me from leaving." A brief silence hung in the air. The chill of the storm's aftermath lingered, but in that quiet, an unspoken warmth passed between them. William realized this was no ordinary meeting. Somewhere deep down, a choice was forming inside him, a choice that would set the course of his life toward humanity over wealth. The storm had not just destroyed their home, it had awakened something in him as well. William Carter stood silently for a while longer, watching John and Mary struggle to lift beams and fix the shattered walls. The scene tugged at something deep inside him, a recognition that his own life, despite its wealth, had been missing this raw human struggle and perseverance. Suddenly, he pulled out his phone and called his ranch office. "Tom," he said firmly, "send all the workers and equipment to this address immediately." There was a pause on the other end. "Sir, they're working on the fence." "All stop now," William interrupted, his tone leaving no room for debate. "Whatever's happening there, it stops. We're going to rebuild this house first." Soon, trucks and heavy machinery arrived from the ranch. John and Mary watched in astonishment. Mary whispered, "What's happening?" "You're not alone anymore," William said simply. The workers got to work, clearing debris, reinforcing walls, and laying foundations. John's eyes welled up. "How can we ever repay you?" he asked. William shook his head. "There's no repayment. Just promise me you'll help someone else when you can." Mary quietly stood in a corner, tears threatening to fall. "We never imagined anyone would do this for us," she said softly. William nodded. "Sometimes, we are only instruments to carry a bit of hope." For the first time, William joined the labor. Gloves on, sleeves rolled, he lifted planks and worked alongside the ranch hands. Those who watched were stunned, an extremely wealthy rancher now covered in mud, sweat, and sawdust. And yet, a lightness filled his chest, a clarity he had never known. His hands had always signed contracts, now they were helping rebuild a life. As the sun set, painting the sky in streaks of red and gold, the house began to take shape, stronger, brighter, and full of life. The storm had taken much, but hope, trust, and human kindness were now being restored. William knew this was only the beginning. The deepest part of this story, the part that would leave a lasting impact, was still to come. Over the next few weeks, John and Mary's farmhouse transformed. From dawn to dusk, the rhythmic sounds of construction filled the air, hammering, drilling, and laughter among the workers. William visited daily, checking progress, sometimes lending a hand himself. The project was no longer just rebuilding a house, it had become a mission rooted in responsibility and care. The new house was not only sturdy but beautiful. A fresh roof, reinforced walls, and a small porch where Mary had always dreamed of sipping her morning coffee. When the house was finally complete, Mary's eyes brimmed with tears. "It's more beautiful than we ever imagined," she said softly. John looked at William, his voice heavy with gratitude. "You've given us a reason to live again." William smiled. "I only did what felt right." Inside, however, he felt a profound change. Wealth had always been numbers and deals, now he understood that true value lay in touching lives. But William didn't stop at the house. He arranged for food supplies, paid bills, and even helped John find a small job so he could maintain his dignity. Mary whispered later, "You've saved us more than just our home." For William, these words were worth more than any fortune. A small gathering marked the house's completion. Neighbors, volunteers, and workers celebrated quietly. John spoke for both of them. "The storm taught us lessons, but William reminded us that humanity still exists." Tears glistened on many faces. That night, William stood alone on his ranch balcony. The sky was clear, stars shining bright. He took a deep breath, feeling lighter than he had ever felt. Money still existed, but now his life had meaning. Weeks later, William started a foundation dedicated to helping storm victims and those affected by disasters. John and Mary were not just a story, they were the foundation's inspiration. Storms pass, houses are rebuilt, but the impact of kindness and humanity lasts forever. That day, William Carter realized that true wealth is measured not in money, but in the lives you touch.